Hello and welcome to Between the Pillars. In this series I will talk about the Tree of Life and the position of the tarot cards on the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life can show many things: God, the world, the human self and personality. In this series I want to use the Tree of Life to show enlightenment and experiences. To set the scene, we are immortal souls having planetary experiences. Life is like an RPG game. Yeah, our body, mind, ego, that's our avatar. And then we are born, we have a life and experience all sorts of situations. And when our avatar dies, we return to our soul tribe in the soul world. Experiences are the purpose of incarnation. Since every experience, however beautiful, gets eventually boring, the evolution of experiencing is the name of the game. We can expand horizontally, meaning having many different kinds of experiences, and everybody does that. Yeah, but we can also evolve experiences. So, for example, we can have a sex buddy, yeah, but we can evolve that from having a sex buddy to having a romance. And during a romance, we experience both sex and some quality time. We can evolve that further, romance into a marriage, which adds some kind of a, let's say, a collaboration to the romance. And you live together and you build a home together and you raise children together. And we can raise that further to a love relationship. Yeah, not every marriage is a love relationship. So we can raise that to a love relationship where we express unconditional love, but also where we share very deep intimacies. And even that can be raised further where we can use our partnership to further enlightenment. So life is all about experiencing. Who experiences? The ego and the mind. So in order to evolve our capacity to experience, we need to evolve our consciousness first, our self-consciousness, the ego, as well as our mind, or the capacity of the mind to have more intense and more encompassing experiences. And that's where enlightenment comes in. Mind that when I say enlightenment, it's the same thing as spirituality. So naturally, experiences evolve our consciousness, and the good and bad times we live through. Yeah, they push the boundaries of our intellectual capacity, and they help us gain wisdom, understanding, and empathy. It's like a benevolent cycle. We experience something which expands our consciousness, and that allows us to have a greater experience, which evolves our consciousness again, and so on and so on. But upon entering enlightenment, we gain an evolutionary edge. And in addition to learning by experience, in particular karmic repercussions, we connect to the higher self, which from within guides and protects us and teaches us things, initiates us in enlightenment secrets. And this accelerates the evolution of our consciousness. And then there comes a time when we are ready to expand our consciousness into other realities, but also higher unknown aspects of ourself. For example, our soul, or the higher self, or even the cosmic self. And that's the time, by that time we already have done a lot of enlightenment work, but now it gets serious, because that's the time when we begin the great work, the transformation of our avatar, our body, mind, ego vehicle. So all this I want to reflect in the version of the Tree of Life I will be using in these videos. And for that reason I gave the Sephiroth somewhat new titles. They're not completely new, but I want to emphasize first the consciousness, the various aspects of consciousness, but also the different types or principal types of experiences we can have. So for that reason I gave each Sephira two titles. One stands for the consciousness, or the aspect of the consciousness it represents, and one for the experience. So let me go from the bottom up. So first we have the 10th Sephira, the lowest Sephira, and that represents two things: the body, which has its own consciousness, but also the external world and all the experiences we can have in the external world. And it also represents our emotions, which are visceral emotional reaction to external experiences. So then the 9th Sephira, I use it to represent the mind, but also all the internal experiences we have, the experiences of thoughts, of desires, of emotions, of feelings, and imaginations. While the mind does not produce them, for example, the intellect produces thoughts, but they appear in the mind. The mind is the medium where all these things come together. The 8th Sephira is then the Sephira of intelligence, or the intellect, and the experience we have there is the experience of knowledge. The 7th Sephira is the Sephira of our feelings and desires, and the experience we can have there is the experience of success. The 6th Sephira is then the Sephira of the higher self, and what we experience there, if we do enlightenment long enough, that will be the experience of illumination, the realization of the higher self. The 5th Sephira is the sphere of cosmic intention, cosmic will, and what we experience there is destiny. So the universe is going somewhere, it has a destiny, and it proceeds somewhere, and we are all proceeding with it. And where the purpose of everything that happens, the meaning and the direction where everything is going, where the universe is going, that's what we can experience in that Sephira. The 4th Sephira is the Sephira of empathy, and empathy means that we can actually put ourselves into other people's shoes, and it's both a capacity as well as an experience. So remember that a life is an RPG game, and we have many lives. So we are very used at taking on a particular avatar and then living a life, and that's empathy. And because we have done this hundreds of times, it's very easy for us to empathize with maybe other people, because we have been there many times. And that's also why when we watch movies or when we read stories, it's very natural for us. The ability to empathize with those characters in that story comes very natural for us as a soul, because we have done it already 100 times. So the 3rd Sephira represents the mental capacity of understanding, but mind that this is a very, very high level of understanding. It's the understanding of the entire cosmic framework. And what we experience on that level is what is known as the experience of the unity of life. And we experience that the cosmos, the universe, is alive, and we all living beings are a part of it. And the 2nd Sephira is the Sephira of wisdom. Wisdom meaning the cosmic archetypes with which creation was realized. And when we get to that level, we can actually experience and see the archetypes of creation. The 1st Sephira and the highest Sephira is then the Sephira of the cosmic self. And there we can experience cosmic consciousness. Now the question becomes, where is the ego? It's not represented here on the tree of life, because the ego is fluent. So what actually happens is that when we wake up in the morning, the soul descends into the avatar, our avatar. The avatar wakes up, and the soul merges then with the ego awareness, or the ego consciousness. And the ego consciousness is two things. It's both connected to the body, yeah, because there is a part in our brain that produces physical ego awareness, but it is also connected to our mind, because our mind has the astrological imprint, yeah, that makes our ego something, gives our ego its specific astrological makeup. And it's very important to understand that the ego awareness is fluent. Yeah, so for example, if something bad happens in the external world, yeah, the ego can experience a shock, and it can sink further down into, for example, into the body, where it may identify itself with an emotion. Yeah, or the ego can become all anger, or can become all fear, things like that. But it can also go that far that the ego identifies itself with external situations or things in this external world. Yeah, so for example, he may identify itself with his career. And when he loses his career, yeah, he will enter an identity crisis. But also the opposite can happen. The ego awareness can rise up, and that's actually what enlightenment work does. It tries to lift the ego out of the mind, out of the body, and out of the mind towards the higher self, in order to experience, or at least feel, the higher aspects of the self. Okay, so the last principle I want to establish is a certain division of the 3 pillars of the Tree of Life. So have you heard of Janus, the two-faced Roman god? Yeah, that's actually us, yeah, or the ego, the avatar awareness. Because we live in 2 worlds. We live in the external world, or we face the external world, but we also face our internal world, our thoughts, our memories, our images, and so on. And we dwell on the threshold between these 2 worlds. And there's a rhythm going on. Is experience something in the external world, and comes an internal reaction, and then we act according to our internal reaction. We act, and then we get a karmic feedback, and then we have a reaction again. So it's like a rhythmic movement between the external and internal world, and the soul ego awareness dwells on the threshold between these 2 worlds. So in this particular version of the Tree of Life that I will be using, the left pillar represents the external world. So there we have understanding and the unity of life. We have cosmic will, cosmic intention, and the purpose of the universe, which also includes karma, because karma keeps the movement of the universe on track. And karma is something we experience in the external world, as well as knowledge. Also knowledge we can only experience when we interact with the external world. So on the right pillar we have wisdom, we have empathy, and we have feelings and desires. And yeah, that's very obvious. These are all very internal capacities that we bring, that the soul brings with it when it interacts with the external world. And the middle pillar then represents us, the dweller on the threshold between the 2 worlds, and the different aspects of ourself. So there is the physical self of the body, which is the ego in the brain. Then we have the lower self in the mind, which is the astrological composition we have for this particular incarnation. Then the higher self and the cosmic self. So when we incarnate, the soul consciousness descends into the body-mind ego vehicle and merges with the physical ego of the brain, producing our ego soul self-consciousness. And when we go to sleep, the soul detaches again and returns for a night, for a few hours, to its soul tribe. And when we wake up in the morning, the soul descends again and merges with the ego. When we are young, I assume that we are something like 80-20 soul-ego consciousness. Yeah? Children are much more soul than ego in their early years. And as we grow older and learn things we maybe shouldn't learn, and learn attitudes. We shouldn't assume. Yeah, these 3 verses and to something like 2080. But with the help of Enlightenment, we want to raise that ratio again, to return. The first step would be to return to being children again, but on a higher, not on an innocent, but on a higher knowledgeable level. So we're 80% soul again. And if we manage in one incarnation, going even further to become 100% soul, 100% human, and that means illumination, the realization of the higher self. So in the next series, I will look at different sephira and use the tarot cards or the positions of the tarot cards as an illustration of what these sephira represent, and that will represent first a quality of our consciousness or an aspect of our consciousness, but also very principal experiences that we experience again and again and again in real life.